Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. What I have for you guys today, I have another episode of the Championship Roundup, and this was a pretty hectic week once again, guys. I mean, last week was pretty crazy. This week as well, we've got some pretty big scorelines to talk over this weekend, guys. So what I want you guys to do is leave a comment in the comments down below as to how your team performed this weekend. I'd be very interested to hear from some of you guys because there's quite a few talking points to go over this week, guys, in terms of the matches. But before we actually get into any of the analysis of this weekend's matches, guys, I will leave your comments on screen now, so if any of you did manage to correctly guess any of the scorelines this week, I will include your comment on the screen now, and apologies if I do accidentally miss yours out. Sometimes I just skip over some accidentally, but in terms of this week, I actually don't think I got any of my scorelines correct this week, so I had a pretty poor week this time in terms of predicting scorelines. But this video is actually going to be split into two parts, guys. The first part of the video is going to be me going over all of this weekend's games, and then the next part of the video, the second half of the video, is going to be my midweek scoreline prediction. So what I want you guys to do as well is leave a comment in the comments down below as to what are your midweek score predictions, guys. So in the description, I will leave all the matches that are taking place midweek, guys, and I want you guys to make your predictions. Then if you do get any of them right, I will include them in my next video. But enough of me rambling on, guys. We'll just get into the matches. So the first game we have to talk about, guys, is the match taking place on Friday night between two heavyweights of the Championship so far, those being Brighton going up against Leeds United. So I do feel like this game was probably defined by the red card shown to Phillips in the 23rd minute for Leeds United. I mean, going down to 10 men so early on in this game really did mould the rest of the match. I mean, when they went down to 10 men, it was a stupid red card, really. I mean, he handballed it off the line, and subsequently Murray managed to step up and score a penalty for them, and it was actually two penalties that actually won Brighton this match. However, saying that, Brighton in this game, they were the better team, and just that red card made it really difficult for Leeds, really. So it's a difficult one to approach, as to had that red card not happened and had, you know, that incident not have happened, this could have been a different game, definitely. But Brighton managed to walk away with a 2-0 victory, and briefly that actually put them top of the Championship until Saturday. So a big scoreline for them, which keeps the pressure on Newcastle, of course, at the top of the table. But recently, Leeds have had a couple of up and down results, not been the best recently. So let me know in the comments down below, Leeds United fans, do you think you'll be bouncing back from this? Then for our next match, guys, we have Aston Villa coming up against Wigan Athletic. So going into this match, I was predicting an Aston Villa win, and in the end, that is actually what came out of it. But I've got to admit, Wigan probably were quite unlucky in this match. They actually managed to hold on in this game until the 88th minute, and they really did seem to keep Aston Villa at bay in this match for the majority of it, and it's probably been Wigan's strongest asset this season, not conceding goals. They've actually only conceded something like 22 goals this season, which is a fantastic record considering they're one of the teams which currently make up the bottom three. However, it has been Wigan going forward this season which has been their hindrance, and that was summed up in this game, really, with them not having a shot on target. But it was a fantastic late strike from Jack Grealish in the 88th minute, perhaps a little bit cruel on Wigan Athletic, but it was definitely needed for Aston Villa to get back on track, to get their promotion push going again, I suppose, because that will be the aim for them at the end of the season. But like I said, it was a fantastic strike from Grealish, which keeps them ticking over. Then for our next match, guys, we have Barnsley coming up against Norwich City. So this one was actually a really funny game, really, because in the first half, Barnsley took the game to Norwich, and they actually went into half-time 2-0 up, and Norwich, you know, I was actually predicting a Norwich victory going into this match. The reason that was because they just come off the back of that fantastic victory they had against Brentford. So I thought, you know what, this squad is surely going to be surging with confidence. So I was confident to back Norwich City for a win in this match, but they just seem to have reverted to their former selves, especially in the first half of this match, when they really were poor in this game. So once again, the pressure falls down on Alex Neil. I must say, in the second half, they did obviously show an improvement as Oliveira managed to get a goal back for them, but Barnsley more than deserved this victory in today's game here, guys, and I don't know what to think of Norwich, really. I mean, Barnsley have started to put together a nice little bit of form recently after they had a bit of a slump not too long ago, but in terms of Norwich, it's a really difficult one as to where they go from here, and whether they're going to stick with Alex Neil. It looks like they are, because they've stuck with him through a pretty rough patch that they've had, but things need to improve for them, definitely. And for our next match, guys, we have Brentford coming up against Burton Albion. So for this match, I actually predicted that it would finish as a 1-1, and I was pretty close to getting the correct scoreline. In the end, obviously, Brentford managed to snatch it 2-1, but once again, this was a pivotal match for Brentford, because going into this game, they really were on a poor run of form. Obviously, all of that will have been epitomised with their 5-0 hammering they suffered to Norwich last week. So going up against Burton Albion at home, with obviously Burton having a poor away record this season, this match was massive for Brentford, and they really did need to get a victory in this match to get their season back on track. And of course it was their star man Scott Hogan who managed to strike twice for them, and how pivotal he has been for Brentford this season, with the amount of goals he's popped up for them for, and the amount of points he's actually getting this Brentford side. I've got to ask Brentford fans, are you worried that in January you could potentially be seeing your top scorer Scott Hogan leave? Because that second goal, by the way, that pass from Romain Sawyers, I think it was absolutely exquisite, and the finish was absolutely brilliant. But Burton Albion, a little bit unlucky. They pressed Brentford a little bit in the second half, but they just couldn't manage to find that equaliser after Hogan had done well. But Brentford show, you know, what they're capable of when they've got Scott Hogan in top form, but with him possibly leaving in January, it could be a major worry for them. And then for our next match, guys, we have Huddersfield Town coming up against Bristol City. So in the end, this one managed to finish 2-1 to Huddersfield, and this game really was defined by a goalkeeping mistake from Frankie Fielding, which in the end allowed Naki Wells to go ahead and seal the victory for Huddersfield. I thought that Bristol City once again weren't at their best in this match, and have actually been quite poor recently. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, it was only about 4 or 5 weeks ago since Bristol City sat in a playoff spot, but since then they seem to have had a fall from grace. They currently find themselves 14th in the league now, so really isn't the best of run of form from Bristol City lately, and they'll be hoping to finish this year with a flourish, really, because I know their expectations probably were a bit better than that come the start of the season. Once again, Huddersfield were at fault for conceding another goal from a set piece, with Tammy Abraham this time managing to come up with a goal for Bristol City. So once again, it's something that Huddersfield really are going to need to address, but it was a deserved victory for them in the end. And then for our next match, guys, we have Ipswich Town coming up against Cardiff City. So going into this match, once again, I was anticipating this one to be quite a close one. In the end, it was just that. It wasn't the best match of this weekend in the Championship, so we won't dwell too long on it. But I think what was most defining about this match was actually the Bamba red card for Cardiff City. I mean, last week we had 2 Preston players fighting with each other. This time we got a player fighting with the manager, Neil Warnock. It was a bit mental, to be honest. I'd love to get some Cardiff City fans' opinions on what you actually thought of this game itself and what you thought of the red card. I mean, basically what it was the reaction from Bamba towards other players on the pitch and the referee. He was then subsequently sent off for that. Warnock tried to calm him down. Bamba was having none of it. He pushed him away. I think the physio got involved as well, where he started shoving him away as well. You could see temperaments were running very high in this match, and in the end I thought Ipswich maybe would have been a bit disappointed they didn't capitalise on Cardiff playing with 10 men after the 70th minute. You know, they definitely had chances after that, but they just couldn't prove any of them to be pivotal. And once again at Cardiff, it was Gunnarsson who managed to get a goal for Cardiff, as they do currently find themselves sat 22nd in the league. So they are going to need to start picking up victories in these sort of matches, Cardiff, if they are going to slowly creep up the table like I do anticipate them to. But Ipswich, once again, I think they were booed off at the end of this match. There's a lot of discontent around Mick McCarthy, and understandably so after this sort of performance. And then for our next match, guys, we have Newcastle United coming up against Birmingham City. So in reality, there's not really much to say about this match. Newcastle were just absolutely unplayable at times, and Birmingham simply couldn't cope with that. I mean, it was a Dwight Gale hat-trick, which ensured all 3 points for Newcastle, as they have looked to get back on track now 2 winning ways. I mean, this game was actually, I think, was a big one for Newcastle. They'll have been looking to stop the rot after 3 consecutive defeats, so I do feel like this game was important for them, and Birmingham perhaps could have gone about this game in a different manner to perhaps get something from this game. But I mean, when Dwight Gale's in that sort of form that he is, you can't hold anything against Birmingham in this match. I mean, that Newcastle team just has confidence oozing through it after this game, I feel like, and of course it wouldn't have been an easy one either. I mean, Newcastle, of course, like I said, coming off the back of 3 defeats, and with Brighton as well winning on Friday. Perhaps, you know, I could have seen a couple of Newcastle players being a bit timid going into this game, but that was just not the case in this match. Newcastle managed to storm Birmingham away and subsequently have gone back to the top of the table. And going into our next match, guys, we have Reading coming up against Sheffield Wednesday. So this was actually a massive match for Reading once again, as they were coming off the back of that 5-0 hammering they had to Fulham the other week. So it was massive for them to actually win this victory, to be taken seriously as promotion candidates, I'd say, because you know, any squad is going to suffer from a little bit of a morale dip after you get hammered 5-0, but sometimes that turns out to be just what your squad actually needs. And of course, Sheffield Wednesday in this game were without Forestieri, and it was shown, you know, what quality he brings to their side in this game. I mean, they did create chances in this game, but were very wasteful of them, especially in the first half. I remember them having quite a few decent opportunities opportunities, but they squandered all of them, and in the end that allowed Reading to take control of the second half really, as Behrens managed to strike twice to get Reading a 2-0 lead, and then it was a consolation goal from Fletcher to get Sheffield Wednesday a goal back in the 92nd minute. But it's these sort of games really against the bigger clubs like Sheffield Wednesday really do need to be doing better against if they are going to be getting into the top 6 this season. But Reading look to be back on track now, so with these two sides this season, I'd actually like to know that from you guys. Who do you think will finish higher come the end of the season? I'd love to know some neutral fans' opinions on this. Do you think Reading or Sheffield Wednesday will finish higher come the end of the season? Let me know down below. And then for our next match, guys, we have Rotherham United coming up against Queen's Park Rangers. And first of all, just fair play to Rotherham. They finally managed to get a victory, and it's been a long time coming for them, you know, this season. They managed to get to 10 points now in this season, and I'm not going to take anything away from Rotherham in this match because it was a well-deserved victory, and they have been in need of this, to be honest. So fair play if anyone actually did back Rotherham in the comments down below. But I did actually say, to be fair, in my predictions video, I said that QPR, I had the feeling that QPR would make it difficult for themselves, and in the end that's exactly what they did. But I think what's so monumental about this is that this fixture actually leaves QPR 3 points off the relegation zone, and when you look at QPR's fixture list towards the end of this year, they've got some tough fixtures coming up. I mean, the next 3 fixtures QPR have are Derby, Aston Villa and Brighton, so for QPR to only be 3 points off relegation, I mean, QPR fans, you must be looking over your shoulders at this point in the season. I mean, it looked to be a good response that Ian Holloway had got from his side from him initially taking over with him getting that victory. But since then, things haven't been looking great. I mean, with these next 3 fixtures, I just can't see where the next points are going to come from. And then for our next match, guys, we have just a mental scoreline going on in the Championship for this one, guys. We have Wolverhampton Wanderers 4, Fulham 4, and what a crazy match this was. I mean, I don't have that much time to go over each and every individual goal that was scored in this match, but there was some crackers in this game. I mean, Tom Kearney's volley into the top corner, that was a standout one for me in this match. Definitely could be goal of the weekend. Let me know in the comments down below who got your goal of the weekend. I'll tell you mine at the end of the video, guys. But Tom Kearney scored a fantastic volley in this match. But at half-time in this match, Fulham actually led the game 3-1, so I do think that it would have been very easy and quite predictable, really, of Wolves to just concentrate in the second half, not conceding anymore, shutting up shop, and then focusing on the next game. But that's not what happened. In the second half, Wolves really did take the game to Fulham, and it ended up just being this end-to-end, just madness game in the Championship, and probably epitomises what the Championship's all about and just how unpredictable it was. I mean, Fulham will be regretting throwing this 3-1 lead away. I mean, that really wasn't great from them, but I actually don't know who will be the happiest side at the end of this game. I mean, Fulham led 3-1 at one point in this game. Wolves then pulled it back to 4-3, which is just a massive scoreline, but then in the last minute, Fulham managed to get an equaliser and make it 4-4. So Wolves and Fulham fans, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to get some of your opinions on what you thought of this one. I mean, personally myself, I was backing a Fulham victory for this one, so I think for Wolves initially to take anything from a very good Fulham side was a good result, but you know, to concede so late on, it always is a gutting feeling. But this game was just a mental one, 4-4. What do you think about it, lads? And then for our next match, guys, we have the Lancashire Derby taking place on Saturday evening between my club Preston North End and Blackburn Rovers. So to be honest, I wasn't expecting this. You know, first of all, I was predicting a 0-0 for this match. In the end, it finished 3-2 to Preston. You know, I was expecting quite a low scoring one in this game, considering Preston haven't been great lately, especially at killing off our opponents, and I thought I'd actually suffer from a bit of deja vu in this match, as there was a couple of shaky moments for us, especially late on in this game. But it was Daniel Johnson who gave Preston North End the lead in this game, thanks to a fantastic curling effort into the corner of the net. And then after that goal, the referee became the main talking point of this match. So Danny Graham managed to win a penalty for Blackburn Rovers. He subsequently missed that penalty, but managed to get it in the follow-up. When I saw that obviously I was at the game, when I actually saw that, the Blackburn penalty, I didn't think it was a penalty, but you know, looking at the replay, there's no questioning that. And then we go up to the other end of the pitch. Preston then win the penalty, and what a spot this was by the referee. I mean, there was a lot of people, myself included, in the ground that didn't know what the ref had blown for. To me, it just looked like the keeper had made a fantastic save, which he did, but the referee managed to spot that there was a handball in the build up to that, so fair play to the referee for spotting that. Daniel Johnson then managed to put that goal away, and going into the second half, it was just this sort of end-to-end sort of match, and it really was quite an entertaining one. But it was a Callum Robinson winner who managed to step up with it in the end. I've got to give a shout out to Greg Cunningham for getting that assist. It was a fantastic bit of work from the left-hand side, and Blackburn Rovers did actually have a penalty appeal in the second half as well, which was waved away by the referee, and in my opinion, it was the correct decision. Feel free to disagree with me, Blackburn fans, in the comments down below. I mean, it was the one where I can't remember who was going through on goal for Blackburn, but it was Ben Pearson who came up behind him, put his hands on his shoulders. In my opinion, that's not enough for him to go down, you know. I've seen them given before. It would have been an incredibly soft penalty, but in my opinion, it wasn't one. And Preston in the end have walked away with a 3-2 victory. I've seen quite a few Blackburn fans who were disappointed not to get anything out of this match. If I was a Blackburn fan, I could see their argument for that, but myself being a Preston fan, I thought it was a deserved victory in the end. So a very much needed victory for Preston, which continues to elevate us up the table. And then for our last match, guys, taking place on Sunday was the big derby of the weekend. That was between Derby and Nottingham Forest, and in the end, this one managed to finish 3-0 to Derby in this match. So going into this match, I did actually predict a Derby victory. I predicted it would end 3-2 to Derby. So to be fair to me, I did predict Derby would score 3 goals. I just overestimated Nottingham Forest, it would appear like. But Forest not getting off to the best start in this match, with Nicholas Bentner scoring an own goal, and in the second half, you know, was when Derby really took the game to Forest. I don't think anyone really can have too many arguments about this game. You know, Derby were the better side. There's no there's nothing more about to say about that really. But to be fair, I don't think Derby were at their best in this match. I think I have seen them play better this season, but you know, this victory now leaves Derby 5th place in the Championship. I mean, considering this start that they had to the season, that is a fantastic achievement to have. To be in a playoff spot going into the end of the year now, considering just the awful start they had to the season, really is fantastic work from Steve McLaren. So I think a lot of plaudits has to be given to him. So fair play to Steve McLaren, but definitely not a performance to shout about from Nottingham Forest. They'll have been very disappointed to leave with nothing. And to lose 3-0 to your rivals really is a gutting one. So Forest fans, what do you think went wrong in this game? Let me know down below. Derby fans, I'm sure you'll all be buzzing after that. So now for my goal of the weekend, guys, I'm actually going to give this one to Daniel Johnson for his goal against Blackburn Rovers. I was very close to picking Tom Kearney for that volley he scored against Wolves, but just because I was at the match, it may be me being a bit biased, but I thought it was a fantastic effort from DJ, his first of the season. So my goal of the weekend is DJ against Blackburn Rovers. And then my result of the weekend, I'm actually going to give it to Rotherham. I think no one was expecting Rotherham to win this game after the awful results they've had lately and where they currently find themselves in the table. So my result of the weekend is going to be Rotherham beating QPR 1-0. And now, guys, for my score predictions for this week's midweek matches that are taking place, guys. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing how a couple of these actually turn out. So let me know in the comments down below, what are your midweek predictions, guys? I'd be very interested to know. So I'll start rattling through mine here, guys. So Birmingham against Ipswich, I'm going to say 2-1 Birmingham. I fancy them to bounce back in that game. Blackburn against Brighton, I think Brighton have been fantastic so far, so I'll say 2-0 Brighton. Bristol City against Brentford, I think this one could actually be quite a close match. Bristol City not being on the best of form, Brentford perhaps looking for a reaction after that. They actually got a victory last week, so I'm going to say this one's going to end as a 1-1. Burton against Huddersfield, I think Huddersfield will just scrape by 1-0 Huddersfield. And then Cardiff against Wolves, I'm going to say that one's going to end level as a 2-2. Fulham against Rotherham, as much as I'd love to back Rotherham to get back-to-back wins, I do fancy Fulham to actually see off this game, so I'm going to say 3-1 to Fulham. Then we have Leeds United coming up against Reading. Once again, that's a big tie between two playoff chasers in this one. I'm going to say this one's going to end level as a 1-1. Then we have Norwich against Aston Villa, again taking place between two relegated sides, and it really is a question of what Norwich turns up. You know, if the Norwich of the first half against Barnsley turns up, they could get hammered in that match. But I'm actually going to say this one's going to end as a 2-1 victory for Aston Villa. And then for Sheffield Wednesday against Barnsley, it's a tough one. Forestieri is still suspended for Wednesday, so I'll say 1-1. And then for the games taking place on Wednesday, guys, we have Nottingham Forest coming up against Preston North End. For that one, I'm going to back my team for that one. I'm going to say 2-1 Preston. Then for QPR against Derby, with QPR, you know, currently on the form they are, and Derby coming off that back of that fantastic Derby Day victory, I'm going to say 2-0 to Derby. And then finally, we have Wigan against Newcastle. I think Wigan could actually make this quite difficult for Newcastle, and this could be a potential banana skin for Newcastle, similarly to what the Blackburn game was, but I'm going to say this one's going to end as a 2-1 victory to Newcastle. Like I said, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video, so thank you so much for watching. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like, it is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you check out all the links in the description down below, and I'll see you all in the next one.